Hello, this is Cassie B, and this is the Whatever It Takes podcast. Yeah, I've had quite a busy day today. I've gone to church, I've picked up my medication, I've gone and done the grocery shopping for the week, and now I'm just home and I'll be able to get a few projects done. I'm going to try to completely clean and organize my room and get everything out of the closet that I stored away and see what I really need and don't. And I just realized the sun is finally back. I'm able to see blue skies again, which is nice. I really enjoy a rainy day. But I don't know. For me, a day that has a gray sky and no rain and no sun is really a hard day sometimes, especially when you're at a point where you just don't feel like you have a lot of energy. Yeah, I am trying to, try to get a lot done. And I'm really trying to also, work on myself. I think, yeah, I think everyone should know that it's okay to have, like, personality flaws. It's okay to have, things about ourselves that we know is not the greatest. And yeah, being able to try to fix those things. That's something I've been working on for myself recently, because I'm normally a cool-headed person, but sometimes I do get upset. Sometimes I do get mad, and just kind of when things like that happen, kind of learning how to, like, how you should react emotionally to it, and trying to really, it's not fun to get into a fight with people. And I think a lot of the time in life, we're just not taught the right way to react to stressful things that people tell us, or, you know, perceiving what they said one way instead of another. Or when we do get into a fight, I don't think we're often taught how to resolve that without, somebody has to be right and somebody has to be wrong. And I definitely don't think that that's the way it should be. I think there's really a time where somebody's fully right and somebody's fully wrong. It always takes two people to have a fight. You can't you can't fight on your own. So for me, it's like going through the process of learning that nothing's good is gonna come back from retaliating. Or even if you feel like you're more in the right, it's not going to help. It's very rare you're gonna change somebody's opinion by arguing with them, and it's very rare that you're able to change anybody's opinion in general. To change, people have to figure out how they feel by themselves most of the time. Like, it's good to give guidance and hints about, like, maybe things that you say will occur to them on, like, months later, and they'll be like, oh, this is what that person meant by this. and things like that. But it's very rare in the moment that you're gonna change somebody's perspective of something all at once. And I don't think we're often taught how to, be the bigger person, or not even being the bigger person, but just how to not get tangled up in conflict. And what do we do when we have a fight? What do we do when we feel like somebody is just pushing us and pushing us to fight with them? And they might not even know that that's what it feels like they're doing, because it's so common to see stories, movies where there's a good guy and a bad guy, or there's somebody who is the protagonist and someone who's the antagonist. And I just think, especially for myself, I'm working on, like, when somebody is kind of pushing me, they keep pushing me into a place where, I could either say something that's gonna cause them to be mad, or say nothing and they're still gonna be mad at me because they're like, oh, you're not going to talk now. I think the only thing you can do is build a background, build your confidence in yourself in a way that it doesn't matter what you say to me. It doesn't matter how much you push me. I have enough self-esteem, confidence in the things I'm doing to feel like I don't need to justify it to you. I don't need to justify the things I'm doing because I've been working hard on them and I have a lot of confidence in them. And that's really the best way to, in quotes or something, fight back, because, I don't know, for me, verbal fighting has never been something that has gotten me anywhere. I used to be more confrontational because that's what I felt like I had to do to, one day hopefully someone would, help me. But it never really worked. It never made me feel like a good person or the bigger person, even if someone started a fight with me, and I was just defending myself. It never made me feel good at the end, the best way to avoid a fight is to cut it off as soon as you can, kind of. Sometimes that means leaving. Sometimes that means leaving the room, giving yourself space, coming back when somebody cooled off. There's this, something that I heard works, and it works for me sometimes. When you're in the heat of a moment, sometimes you can't help it. You're in a fight. The best thing is to take 10 minutes, cool off, and then sometimes you realize what you were fighting about doesn't matter. And it's not that, you weren't thinking. It's just that in the heat of the moment, things seem a lot more important than they actually are. So that's kind of how I feel about these things. I really am not somebody who's a confrontational person. I don't like to fight. I will admit when I'm wrong, and I will apologize for, when I am wrong, but I don't like fighting. I try to avoid it, and a good way to avoid it is to stay in your own lane. There's nobody in this world that you have to focus on as much as you focus on yourself. And for, like, self-esteem and stuff, that's great. Like, when you're listening to, somebody talk about their life on a podcast or a YouTube video, something else, and you kind of get that anxious feeling, because that's something you want. There's a bit of jealousy in that. There's a bit of shame that you're not really where you want to be. And it's kind of, you're feeling all those feelings. The best thing is to train yourself to just say, I don't have to focus on anybody except for me. I just have to focus on where I am this second in my life. And then you start thinking more about your life, and you start thinking about comparison. Because you can never have somebody else's life. You can only work where you are right now with your own. And it's hard sometimes, especially for people especially people who are still developing, like teenagers and people in middle school and things like that, because it's such a hard time in life. It's a time where you can't really know who you are going to be or what's important to you, because you're still growing. Your body's growing. You keep growing until like forever, but until 23 it's really hard to really know what's your priorities. Yeah, so it's really hard for those people, especially since we live in an age where it's almost impossible not to be on the computer or the phone or things like that, because we have to go on the computer and check our emails. We have to go on the computer and do this. If we want to keep up with our friends, we have to use this app. And yeah, that just leads to like more access to like watching YouTube and watching this and that, and we can't really avoid it. And that's something I've been learning. And it makes it so hard to not compare yourself to other people, but it doesn't bring any joy to do that. It brings a lot of, in my opinion, it brings a lot of feelings of inferiority, feelings of like, what did I do wrong? Why aren't I in their shoes? And that's just a really unhealthy way to think about it. And from there, I'm gonna kind of talk about something I kind of experienced in my life today, but also, I think we do this without even realizing it sometimes. The littlest words can really affect us. And sometimes if you're prone to like talking badly about yourself in your head, you will talk badly about yourself in like a joking way when you're talking to people. And I think that has such an effect on how we actually feel about ourselves. It's so amazing how just things like saying something, like maybe you want to be an artist and somebody's talking to you about your art, and you just kind of backhandedly say, I don't know if that's the right phrase, but you kind of just say, I'm not even a good artist, or I don't look at this, and you put a lot of work into that thing, and you're saying those things in a joking way, but if you say those things enough, if you think those things enough, I think it really starts to hurt your self-esteem, because that's something you actually want. You want to do art, but you're talking about it in a way that, I'm not even good. I'm not even I worked hard on this thing, but it's not even good, And just little things like that throughout our day that kind of stifle us and make us and kind of lead to us believing that we, believing the things we say in our mind or maybe to other people in a joking way, and it's hard. That's something I have to, make sure I'm not doing, because I know it would have a bad effect on me. Yeah, just noticing those things and trying to make sure you are nice to yourself. Nothing good comes from fighting. Nothing good comes from, belittling yourself in a way that even if it's a joke, someday it's going to affect you badly, I think. At least for me, it does. Yeah, we have to give ourselves just as much love as we give someone else. And I don't think the majority of the people in the world would say that to, somebody else. Like, oh, you're not, you worked hard on this. You're not very good at it, So, just things like that. A lot of emotions lately. My mind has just been racing and racing and racing, and not even in a bad way, really. It's not like I'm unable to focus. It's just kind of like so much has happened in a short period of time where it's like I'm gonna try out this analogy I was thinking about when I was walking home. It's like you open a Windows tab or something on your computer and you type something in. You're like into like Google or something. You type something in, then you open another tab on your computer, and then you type something else in, and then a few minutes later you open another one and another one and another one. Keep typing things in. Your mind keeps changing from one thing to another to another to another, and it's so quick. And at the end of the day, you have about maybe 30 tabs open, 40 tabs open. It's like you don't even have just that first browser. You have all of them open. And there's so many different things. And these things could be fun things and good things. But at a point, you're going to have to start closing them because they're overwhelming. And I'm not even really overwhelmed per se, but there's just so much going on. And I feel like I have a million, tabs open on my computer, which in actuality I do. But, it's nice to have inspiration. Usually I will be doing something, and a few minutes later I'll think of something new and I will write that down somewhere on my computer, either in my notes, or I'll just open a tab and write that in Google, and that's kind of a reminder. And yeah, it's just been a lot lately. So much has occurred, and I'm happy with it, but I also can tell that it's kind of, when people have addictions to things, it's very easy to like relapse and stuff. And I have a few addictions of my own. They're not necessarily to like drugs or to alcohol. Like, those are the things when you're like, you have an addiction, you're like, oh, it must be drugs, it must be alcohol. And I think it's so easy to get addicted to anything. I think the definition of an addiction is something that you you do it even when it has become, you continue to do it even when it's no longer fun, when you no longer intend to do it, you're no longer enjoying this thing, but you can't stop. It's like opening the tabs, and you open another one, and another one, and another one, and eventually you're just writing words that don't even matter. You're doing all these things, and I'm getting to a point where I know if I don't take a break from, opening these tabs, which is kind of just a metaphor for, like, I guess, whatever my addiction is, I will kind of fall back into it. I'll kind of be like, oh, it's okay. Usually I go to sleep at 10, but I'm having so much fun opening these tabs that I'm going to stay up till 2. And the next night, and it just gets worse and draining, and now you're just writing random stuff into your tabs, and you don't want to, you just want to sleep, but you can't stop. And there's so many addictions in life. Anything can be addiction. Overeating, internet use is a big one. There's so many things that can stifle our lives and make it so hard to be able to enjoy what we're doing. So I'm trying to watch out for that, trying to make sure that this feeling of not being high on like a drug, but this feeling of being emotionally high. Emotionally, I have so much energy, and my mind's going from this idea to this idea, doesn't cause me to kind of relapse on the things that I know are addictions in my life. So just trying to make sure, that I'm taking care of myself. And sometimes taking care of yourself is taking a break from things. Maybe don't go on the internet that day. Maybe, because I think sometimes it can be super hard to even do that when you get back into like a bad habit. But I've been finding moderation. There was a long period of my life where, it would be like I would indulge in my bad habits like every day. It was something that I would do to kind of pretend I wasn't where I was in my life, kind of, dissociate or something of that sort. And just, it hadn't been fun for a long time. But I continued to do it because, I wanted it to be fun. And when you have an addiction, that thing that was so fun the first time, it never gets that fun again. It just keeps going downhill and downhill and downhill. And that, I feel like that has to do with why people relapse. Because if you're not doing something for a long time, and you kind of get over it, and then you say, oh, I can do this again, and you do it one time. That time you do it is going to be, great. And then after that, it's downhill from there. It's, it's not going to get better. It's not going to be fun. It's going to get worse and worse and worse, and especially if you have an addiction like drugs or alcohol, you can seriously end up in a terrible place. Yeah, I feel like I've had a lot to talk about this podcast. I've been feeling a lot. And I'm in a good mood. Things are going well, but I also have to be mindful about, everything that's going on inside of me, in my mind, in my body, around me, even like, the people around us, whether they're good influences or bad influences, they can like set something off in us. And at the end of the day, it's our decision if we do something we're not proud of. But we have to really be able to, kind of guard ourselves. Kind of be like, oh, you're not good for me. I realize that now. I am going to not hang out with you anymore. I'm not going to, spend as much time with you because you're somebody who can set something bad off at me and make me, have to kind of reevaluate things, because, getting back into a bad habit, everything around us affects us. And I think it's very good to know that our mental health, the health of our body, the people around us, so many things. And really, there's good and bad. There's always gonna be the good times and the bad times. But hopefully you can find a balance where your life is more good than bad. Yeah. Well, if you want to, I think that's mostly what I have to say for today. If you want to, if you watch this podcast a lot, I've been getting quite a few views lately. If you want to subscribe, that's totally fine. It would be appreciated, but you totally don't have to. And I probably won't mention this again. Maybe like every, 5-10 podcasts, I'll say it just so I can kind of figure out where I am at. So thank you so much for watching. This has been the Whatever It Takes podcast.